Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star original continent based on novel. So let's start. The sector beasts were scattered everywhere in space. There was no end to it. They were all glaring at Star Tower in the distance. More than 8,300,000 sector beasts had gathered here. Apparently, Luo Feng killing Betty and 18,000 other sector beasts had already made them anxious. They couldn't stand it anymore, and they sensed that if they didn't kill Milky Way Horde leader, he would kill them all in the future. And then the enslaved Morosa would be the ultimate king. They would rather die to prevent that from happening. Let us attack Luo Feng altogether. All 8 million sector beasts. We have to perform our greatest strengths this time. If we still can't kill that Milky Way Horde leader, we can only push him into some of the lands of extremis in Tilted Peak sector. We have to succeed. All the sector beasts transmitted their voices using their hearts. They glared at Star Tower in the distance. They were full of grudges, as they couldn't damage Star Tower no matter how. Prepare. 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 Orders were given, and all 8.3 million sector beasts were divided into 20 teams. They transmitted their voices and rearranged themselves, so that the attacks could be combined as one. All the teams started to make attacks one by one based on their distance. One could see that almost 300,000 sector beasts had bloody light burning on their bodies. Then countless light pillars shot out. At the same time, they redirected them so that they could gather with others. Soon, all the attacks from those sector beasts merged together. The gleaming black pillars rushed at Star Tower from the back. Attack. And then, other teams also performed attacks one by one. Their attacks rushed toward the black light pillar. 2 teams. 3 teams. 4 teams. All the attacks rushed in the same direction and merged. They were all rushing forward as one, so that they wouldn't waste any of the energies from the combined attacks. The black light pillar kept flying forward, moving 10 million times faster than light speed. The farther it flew, the darker the color it became. And then, it became hollow. The hollow broke the space and flew. All the attacks from the sector beasts merged into the hollow. All the sector beasts glared at Star Tower. They were all looking forward to this. They hoped that under this attack, Milky Way Horde leader would be killed. They didn't want to push him into a land of extremis. After all, there was still a risk that Milky Way Horde leader would make his way out. Luo Feng, inside Star Tower, faced a terrific attack. He was holding his breath, waiting for the right moment to exercise his plan for great extinction. Master. Inside Luo Feng's miniature universe, Morosa was very anxious. Its master was surrounded by more than 8 million sector beasts. Luo Feng, said Primal Chaos City leader, watching eagerly. Only Morosa and Primal Chaos City leader were worried about Luo Feng's safety. As for other great beings in Universe Ocean, including the Earthlings, Luo Feng's wife Xuxin, his sons Luo Ping and Luo Feng, his parents, and Tru Yang, none of them knew what was going on here. They didn't know that this was the moment that would determine the fate of all the races in Universe Ocean. Luo Feng's eyes looked confident and unyielding. The destructive, apocalyptic, silent hollow collided with Star Tower. It was silent as it struck Star Tower. It aimed to erode and damage Star Tower, but Star Tower was indestructible, it couldn't do anything about it. The energies contained in the hollow burst out and splashed everywhere. The result was a massive, destructive clamor. The shock waves spread everywhere, and Star Tower bounced away into the distance. How did it go? Did Star Tower crack? None of the 8 million something sector beasts could see anything. The shock waves were so strong that they annihilated the space, giving them no sight. And they couldn't see anything that happened at the center of the explosion. Just as they were feeling anxious about the result, Luo Feng was trying to control Star Tower and slow it down. Freeze. Under the burning godly power, Star Tower finally stopped. It turned around. The spreading shock waves were being weakened, and the time and space around them began to stabilize. And then, the sector beasts in the distance could clearly see everything that had happened. Star Tower suddenly grew to 9 light-years tall. A giant being, who was also 9 light-years tall, stood in front of Star Tower. He wore gleaming silver armor, and the 5 pairs of silver wings on his back were wide open, covering the endless space. The fate of billions of races in Universe Ocean, whispered Luo Feng. The fate of the humans. The fate of the Earthlings. The fate of the people I love. Everything that I guard with my life. Luo Feng, who was 9 light-years tall, opened his wings. His eyes were filled with hope as he whispered, "This is the moment." All 8 million plus sector beasts clearly saw the silver-armored giant that was 9 light-years tall. They were furious that Milky Way Horde leader was still alive, yet they were joyful that he had finally stepped out of Star Tower. Also, they were amazed that Milky Way Horde leader had become so enormous. Kill him. Attack again. The sector beasts tried to reorganize themselves. However, Luo Feng wouldn't give them a chance this time. Just as his body became 9 light-years tall, Luo Feng waved the wings on his back and infused the origin with his burning godly power. Die out. Luo Feng whispered, but his voice sounded absolutely cold. Either the sector beasts died, or everything he defended died. Kill all the sector beasts. The 9 light-year tall, silver-armored giant waved the 5 pairs of gleaming wings on his back, and just as the 8 million something sector beasts were about to attack, they were stunned. All of a sudden, from the edge of the white wing above all the other wings, a mesmerizing light shot out. Endless traces of blade light. They were like flowers, and they were incredibly fast. They immediately flew across a vast area, covering the region. At that moment, there seemed to be flowers raining down, falling on each of the sector beasts' bodies. Against the beautiful flowers, the bodies of sector beasts were slashed easily. As soon as they were touched by the flowers, they were lacerated, including the sectors within their bodies. Beautiful. Silent. All of space went silent. There weren't any voices. A mighty, eternal true God was bestowed such a top-tier machine-type valuable in the ancient civilization, and he had triggered the highest level of the chaotic golden wings, storing his energies in the origin. There were tons of great beings in the ancient civilization, and to survive, that ancient being had stored as many energies in the origin as possible so that he could survive in battle longer. Even though Luo Feng had consumed some of the energies in the origin, they still rivaled all the energies in the body of that ancient being, as it had taken him a long time to store so much energy. At that moment, they all exploded. From the edge of the 6th wing, white wing, a blade of light flew out. It was so powerful that it could have rivaled the power of an attack from some of the holy. It was certainly much more powerful than the hollow, the combined attack from all 8 million sector beasts. Before that terrific attack, everything was turned into empty space, including sound. 8 million sector beasts were scattered across an area of several square light years. Now, they were surrounded by the endless, beautiful blade light. It was mesmerizing and perfect, and those blade light flowers were reflected in the eyes of all the sector beasts. Beautiful. No. They were horrified. All 8 million plus sector beasts were terrified. They were facing an attack that they couldn't handle whatsoever. It was an attack that could only happen when an eternal true God used a top-tier machine-type valuable. It was an attack that stemmed from so many energies that they were terrified and desperate. However, no matter how desperate and terrified they were still sector beasts. Sector beasts who were born for destruction. No. Kill. All the sector beasts were struggling with all their power. Some of them performed attacks, some performed sector light portal, and some attempted to flee. However, Luo Feng, who was 9 light years tall, waved his wings. An area of several square light years in front of him was like a beautiful picture, and it crumbled instantly. The beautiful picture, which was several square light years in diameter, was annihilated. Everything was annihilated. Everything turned hollow. The endless blade flowers swept across the area of several square light years, and they kept marching forward until they rushed out of the land of darkness. They rushed into other lands of extremis in the core area of Tilted Peak sector. They only vanished after being gone for a long time. Luo Feng didn't need to know how far the energies went, the energies that had been stored in the origin for so long, and had been suddenly let out all at once. The only thing he needed to know was that those 8.3 million sector beasts, that had previously been invincible, were completely wiped out under that awesomely beautiful attack. It was like using a towel to wipe something up. Everything was wiped out, and no one was left alive. It was so powerful that even Luo Feng was thrilled, even after learning a lot about the ancient civilization, and speculating about other aspects. However, the most significant factor for him was being happy and excited. Luo Feng's giant, 9 light-year tall body shuddered with exhilaration. Teacher. The first thing Luo Feng did was to connect to the virtual universe using his godly-powered avatar in the original universe. I did it. I did it. Luo Feng couldn't have been more excited. As for the less than 1 million sector beasts scattered throughout the periphery of the Land of Darkness, they could clearly sense that all 8 million plus sector beasts were killed all at once. They were first dazed, then horrified. 8.3 million sector beasts made up almost 90% of the strength of the entire sector beast race. How mighty and vast this power was. It was so strong that never, in their wildest imagination, would they have expected that such a huge number of sector beasts could be annihilated in a moment. Yet it was a fact. The harsh reality was that it had truly happened. They had placed utmost faith in their ability to detect. This was the talent they had all been born with. All dead. All of them are annihilated. More than 8.3 million sector beasts. Those scattered all over the peripheral region were scared out of their wits into a daze. The number of surviving sector beasts was barely over 900,000. Compared to their original number, which was more than 8.3 million, this number was short of 1/9 of the total. Even the most important forces of the entire sector beast race had been annihilated. For those who survived, what could they possibly do? What should we do? What should we do? Fear, extreme fear. They no longer had the courage to come together to deal with Milky Way Horde leader Luo Feng. In their hearts, he was the bane of their existence. More than 8 million of them had been annihilated. They, the surviving sector beasts, numbered barely over 900,000. Would they dare make any move at all? If Milky Way Horde leader were to carry out another massacre, they would truly be wiped out. As fear was overcoming the surviving sector beasts, within the virtual universe, at the peak of Thunder Island, Luo Feng was walking briskly along a corridor filled with clouds. In the distance, Primal Chaos City leader appeared. Teacher. Luo Feng's face was filled with excitement. Success. I've succeeded. Primal Chaos City leader was exhilarated to hear the news. For so long, he had heard no news from Luo Feng, and not a single moment passed in which he didn't worry about his disciples' safety, and the future of the entire human race. What is the exact situation? Primal Chaos City leader asked anxiously. It's like this, Luo Feng was quick to explain. The sector beast's nest within the Land of Darkness houses a total of more than 9.2 million sector beasts. Every single sector beast is at least at second stage pinnacle standard, which is comparable to the sector beast that I had captured alive. Primal Chaos City leader was greatly taken aback. More than 9 million. Heavens! Just thinking about it was a nightmare, and was enough to rob one of all courage and faith. I felt desperate, too, Luo Feng replied. But fortunately, I received a treasure. A very formidable treasure. I believe this is the one chance for survival that the Supreme Universe Law is giving us. So I went over to the Land of Darkness, and, quite crazily, I started attracting as many sector beasts as I could. No doubt, it was tough trying to attract more than 8.3 million sector beasts to besiege me. Then I used this formidable treasure, and activated it to its maximum power, so that I could directly execute it at its greatest potential to annihilate more than 8.3 million sector beasts in one go. Now, the total number of surviving sector beasts is not even 1 million. Primal Chaos City leader did not make a single utterance. He could only gaze back at Luo Feng with wide eyes. He was usually a very calm and composed person. But, for one thing, more than 9 million sector beasts was a tremendous number. This news had given him quite a scare. Then, he was hit with the news of Luo Feng annihilating more than 8.3 million sector beasts, by relying on just a single treasure. How could he keep his cool? After this battle, we all have a true opportunity at life, Luo Feng said excitedly. Less than 1 million sector beasts are left. Their number barely surpasses 900,000. I suppose even in an ideal situation, it may not even be possible for the birth of 3 6th-stage sector beasts. Although that formidable treasure can only be used once, this is something the surviving sector beasts are unaware of. They will be fearful. I can easily think of ways to kill, destroy, and break them apart. So long as they do not produce any 6th-stage sector beast among them, then I truly have nothing to fear. 6th-stage sector beast. Primal Chaos City leader was in doubt. Well, Luo Feng started to explain. Teacher and disciple began their conversation, and both grew very excited as the conversation progressed. Clearly, the great victory this time around was encouraging. They could see the hope of achieving victory. Not far away, a white-robed figure of a man appeared. It was none other than Teacher Origin. The virtual universe was his creation via the execution of a secret technique, so naturally, he would know everything that happened within the virtual universe. The content of Luo Feng and Primal Chaos City leader's conversation, at that moment brought him great joy, too. Well done, Teacher Origin whispered with his eyes filled with anticipation. He, too, knew about the deal between Luo Feng and that willpower of the Origin. So long as Luo Feng could rid the universe of the threat imposed by the sector beasts, the willpower of the Origin would release Teacher Origin. Teacher Origin did not fear death, but if there was even the slightest possibility of being freed and making it out alive, it was something that he still looked forward to. How satisfying, Primal Chaos City leader said with overwhelming emotions. So this is what the situation is like. Luo Feng was extremely excited. In less than 5 minutes, he had provided a complete description of everything that had happened. Now, the surviving sector beasts are scattered along the peripheral area of the Land of Darkness, and they are far removed from one another. The time required to rush there would be quite lengthy. They are all so far apart, even if I want to kill them, I can only kill 1 or 2 at a time, so the following period will still be very tough. Primal Chaos City leader laughed. Ha ha ha. This is still much better than before. True, the number of sector beasts earlier on truly drove me to desperation. Luo Feng lamented. Huh? Luo Feng suddenly frowned. What is it? Primal Chaos City leader asked right away. Teacher, please wait here for a little while, Luo Feng said. He disappeared right away, and for the time being, he left the virtual universe. Primal Chaos City leader could not help but worry. What had happened? Within Luo Feng's miniature universe, Morosa was pointing at the huge model of the Land of Darkness placed before it. Master, at this very moment, the surviving 900,000 sector beasts in the entire Land of Darkness are all starting to make their way out of the Land of Darkness. They are trying to escape. Luo Feng's expression changed. If they continued to remain within the Land of Darkness, he could take all the time in the world to slowly devour them. But this time, with more than 8.3 million sector beasts annihilated, the surviving sector beasts no longer had the courage to confront Luo Feng head-on. They all wanted to leave the Land of Darkness. Not escape, Morosa replied in a low voice. Master, the sector beasts are born to destroy. Even if they know that they are going to be killed, they will still bite their enemies as viciously as possible in their death throes. They do not give up easily. Even if they are unable to kill you now, Master, they will still find a way to turn the tables and change the situation. Master, you must not let your guard down. Luo Feng nodded. From within the Land of Darkness of Tilted Peak Sector, Luo Feng was rapidly heading outward. The surviving sector beasts were originally at the peripheral region of the Land of Darkness, so naturally, they would be able to leave the Land of Darkness very quickly. As for Luo Feng, just flying out from the heart of the Land of Darkness would take him a long time. He flew out of Land of Darkness to arrive at the 10,000 waves water region. 10,000 waves water region was, in fact, incomparably vast. But the route on which Luo Feng chose to advance followed a path that would allow him to pass by Extinctio Emperor and Dragon Rock ancestral gods' hiding places. Luo Feng cast a quick glance. In the distance, he could see a ship bobbing up and down amidst the undulating waves. On the ship, there were two figures. One of them was an incomparably lofty metal living soul, with a pair of eyes resembling two gigantic stars. The other one was an equally large, winding figure that lay entrenched on its spot, and this other figure was none other than Dragon Rock ancestral god. Unexpectedly, they are still here, Luo Feng said. Seems like the sector beasts are escaping in all directions, and are completely totally unconcerned about these two servants. Any information about the various races of Universe Ocean that Extinctio Emperor and Dragon Rock ancestral god knew, the sector beasts would be aware of, too. And when the two of them were discovered to be spies, they had naturally lost their usefulness. At that moment, the sector beasts were in their greatest predicament. Would they even be bothered about the life and death of these two mere servants? Extinctio. Dragon Rock ancestral god said in a low voice, I'm so full of regrets. If I had chosen to fight it out back then, maybe I would still have a chance of escape. Then I wouldn't be in such a sorry state now. What are your regrets? Extinctio Emperor said. Back then, the three of us were facing such a powerful sector beast that resistance meant death. We could only choose to surrender. Weren't we doing well back then? No one from the various races of Universe Ocean knew that we were spies. Who would have expected someone like Luo Feng to turn up, or for the world of Jin to appear? This has caused the various races of Universe Ocean to surpass us in terms of power, which eventually brought us down to such a sorry state. The two of them were the common enemy of the entire Universe Ocean. Extinctio Emperor and Dragon Rock ancestral god were dealt a sudden shock. They saw from afar a gigantic divine eye that had appeared suddenly to be suspended in void space. That very moment, 10,000 waves water region around them and the big ship they were supposedly on board completely vanished. Even the companion beside them disappeared. Within the void space, they were left alone with that divine eye suspended high in the void space. The divine eye was radiating dazzling rays. Then a strong, absolute willpower swept through the surroundings. Extinctio Emperor and Dragon Rock ancestral god were both rendered powerless against this willpower, as they immediately fell down and lost consciousness. Everything within their consciousnesses was pitch blackness. When the two of them regained consciousness, Extinctio Emperor and Dragon Rock ancestral god looked at their surroundings. This place. It was a vast land amid pitch blackness. What is this place? Where are we? Extinctio Emperor and Dragon Rock ancestral god were both flustered. Suddenly, a cold voice resounded, roaring, this is prison. Luo Feng was not in a rush to kill Extinctio Emperor and Dragon Rock ancestral god, whom he had easily apprehended and confined within Star Tower. Because they were the main conspirators behind Huge Axe's annihilation, there were many among the human race who wanted to kill them. Take Primal Chaos City leader, for instance. His hatred for them ran so deep that the mere thought of them made him clench his teeth with fury. He would have loved to tear their flesh apart and devour them alive. Luo Feng advanced outward speedily. Then he progressed along the route near the space of the wings, where he quickly made his exit out of Tilted Peak Sector. To the entrance of Tilted Peak Sector. The moment he entered the water region, he knew it would not be long before he made it out of Tilted Peak Sector. Instead, Luo Feng flew toward the entrance of Tilted Peak Sector that was situated on a tall mountain. I shall stand guard here, he said to himself. The sector beasts are leaving Tilted Peak Sector, so this entrance is mainly where they have to pass through. The moment one comes out, I'll kill one. If 10 come out, I'll kill 10. Still, Luo Feng was worried. The main body of Tilted Peak Sector was actually an incomparably towering mountain, which had been later cut into two, right down the middle. This was why the exit was so broad. Even someone like Luo Feng could only manage to keep watch over a small region. Within Luo Feng's miniature universe, his godly-powered avatar was staring at that gigantic model of the Land of Darkness, watching the paths of the surviving sector beasts. Beside him, Morosa said, Master, the fastest sector beast is going to reach the exit point soon. The godly-powered avatar was listening carefully. As for Luo Feng's original body, he was already on that path, awaiting it. It stopped, Morosa realized in shock. It is still a distance away from the exit point, but it has stopped. What has it stopped for? Luo Feng frowned. Time passed. One after another, the sector beasts would arrive a substantial distance away from the exit point and stop. Very soon, more than 450,000 sector beasts, scattered all over, had stopped in an area relatively far from the exit. And the other 450,000 sector beasts had parked themselves behind the first half, even further from the exit. Similarly, all of them were scattered about. Every sector beast would stay far away from the others around it. Advance. Advance. The surviving 900,000 sector beasts were divided into two groups. The group of 450,000 at the front would be the first to head for the exit. Every beast was far apart from one another, and they were scattered in all directions. Learning this brought a change to Luo Feng's expression, because it meant that he could only kill one sector beast at a time. Once the other sector beasts had determined Luo Feng's location, they would immediately teleport far away to escape from him. The moment they managed to escape via the exit point, they would enter Universe Ocean. Once they were in the vastness of Universe Ocean, how was Luo Feng going to catch them all? The 450,000 sector beasts were scattered, teleporting and moving forward from the main mountain of tiled peak sector. Luo Feng knew that he couldn't stop them now. No matter how powerful he was, he didn't have 10 million bodies, and the best he could do was kill one or two sector beasts. As for the other sector beasts, they could certainly make their way into the vast Universe Ocean. Kill. Luo Feng's eyes gleamed. Although he couldn't stop them, he would still try to kill as many as possible. Luo Feng kept teleporting, moving closer to one of the sector beasts. A blurry miniature universe was formed, and a giant palm was formed by chaos air, crushing the poor level 2 sector beast. After a short while, Luo Feng stood at the top of Tilted Peak sector, looked around the region. He shook his head. I can't stop them. The first 450,000 sector beasts rushed out, and so did the second batch of sector beasts. Luo Feng tried everything he could, but he was only able to kill 5 sector beasts. Compared to the 900,000 sector beasts, it was nothing. All 900,000 sector beasts have rushed out of Tilted Peak sector and entered Universe Ocean. Luo Feng looked solemn. It's going to be a huge problem now. They really stuck together and all rushed out. I'll have to see what I can do about it. Luo Feng shook his head and started to teleport, hurrying back to the original universe. Luo Feng didn't have enough options. He had known that there was a chance the remaining sector beasts would rush out after his mission. But he didn't have a choice. If he hadn't slaughtered all those sector beasts, but let all of them fight each other, it would have only taken a short while before a sector beast at level 6 was born. Betty had been at level 5. Level 6 sector beasts had 10 million bodies, and it was very difficult to kill them. That would be a real catastrophe. He had to act in advance. He had killed more than 8 million sector beasts all at once, and that had been the best-case scenario, although this best-case scenario was still a disaster to all the races in Universe Ocean. This was indeed a disaster he had never encountered before. Yet now, there was still a chance they could survive this. With Luo Feng's power, he was able to fight 10,000 sector beasts by himself. As for the sector beasts, there weren't even any level 5 sector beasts. It was likely that they could survive that catastrophe. Luo Feng was teleporting, and he teleported faster than Betty at level 5. While all the sector beasts were scattered and rushing toward the races of Universe Ocean, Luo Feng was rushing back, as well. He knew that he couldn't stop all 900,000 sector beasts, so he held a meeting with all the races in the virtual universe. On the floating godly palace, True Gods sat down, while Primal Chaos City Leader and Luo Feng sat at the top. Below sat many True Gods. All the True Gods from all the powers in the original universe had gathered here, such as the demon race and the bug race. Clearly, the only chance they could survive this was to side with the humans. Everyone. Golden-caped Chaos and white-caped Luo Feng sat up top. The white-caped Luo Feng looked down. I've been to the land of darkness by myself. Everyone was stunned. The hive of the sector beasts. How did it go, Milky Way Horde leader? Everyone was worried. 9 Remoteness True Master, Space Beast Ancestor, and the others were all looking at him. As for the other true gods, they were quite worried. The white-caped Luo Feng said, "It's a good news, bad news situation. The good news is, the number of sector beasts in the hive is decreasing. When I entered the hive, there were over 9 million sector beasts, and even the weakest one was as powerful as the sector beast that attacked us in Universe Ocean." What Luo Feng had just said terrified and shocked all the true gods below. Even Luo Feng was intimidated, not to mention them. However, the ways of the universe are fair, said Luo Feng. We have a chance to survive. Fortunately, I obtained a valuable that could only be used once. I attracted more than 8 million sector beasts to surround me, and I killed all 8 million at once. What? More than 8 million sector beasts at once. What kind of valuable was that? All the true gods were shocked. Luo Feng, however, was indifferent. He didn't care what those true gods thought, shocked, suspicious, craving that valuable, or speculating whether Luo Feng was able to use that valuable again. In all of Universe Ocean, Luo Feng was definitely the top great being. And he was much more powerful than everyone else. The human race was also definitely the top race. The bad news is, said Luo Feng, 900,000 sector beasts survived in the land of darkness, and all of them have left the land of darkness. They were approaching Universe Ocean. I myself am not powerful enough to stop all 900,000 from leaving. I think in at least one day, there will be sector beasts arriving at the miniature universes from the first universe era. A day. 900,000 sector beasts in Universe Ocean. Well. All the races were flabbergasted. It was a complete nightmare. All the races in Universe Ocean were panic-stricken from only one sector beast, and now there were 900,000 of them. The first universe era is doomed, and so is the second universe era. All the true gods now realized the truth. They were from the original universe, so they could use the original universe and the universe portals of their respective miniature universes to help them all. However, those from the first and the second universe era were left helpless. Even the original universe was terrified by the prospect of facing 900,000 sector beasts. What were they supposed to do? Everyone, said Luo Feng. I've already given you the news. Go prepare yourself. I'll also spread the news to the first universe era and the second universe era. They should at least know about it in advance. The news spread immediately. It was not just Luo Feng, the other true gods from the original universe also spread the news. The first universe era, the second universe era, Purple Moon Holy Land, and Eastern Emperor Holy Land all received the news. All 5 true masters of the Divine Eye clan gathered. They looked at each other, wanting to say something, but they didn't know where to start. We're doomed. We're doomed. 900,000 sector beasts. Just one sector beast is able to swallow miniature universes in a short time. If there is a large group of sector beasts, our miniature universes will be annihilated instantly, which means everyone living in our miniature universes will be killed as well. All 5 true masters were heartbroken. They would have rather died than let their entire race go extinct. However, there was nothing they could do about it now. You 4. Divine Eye True Master yelled. Leave your miniature universes now and get as far away as possible so those sector beasts can't find you. Then you 4 can survive. As for me, I'll try to approach the sector beasts to see if they are willing to accept me. If they are, there's a chance our Divine Eye clan can survive. Divine Eye, I'll do that. You 4 can leave. Teacher. The 5 true gods started to argue. No matter what, the true gods who ran away would be able to survive, but those who chose to stay might actually die. Even if they could succeed, the individuals would have a tragic destiny. The original mind had already sent a message through the ancestral god school, stating that turning to the side of the sector beasts was a pathetic thing to do. "I'm one of the 8 great overlords in Universe Ocean, so I'm of the greatest use," yelled Divine I True Master. "This is my final decision." The other 4 true gods looked at each other in pain. Yes. After only several minutes, the other 4 true masters left their miniature universes and started to flee. Inside Purple Moon Holy Land, Purple Moon Ancestor was stunned by the news. 900,000 sector beasts. He was walking in the palace by himself. As for the other great beings, he had already told them to leave. What should I do? If hundreds of thousands of sector beasts consume my miniature universe at the same time, I won't be able to resist for long. Purple Moon Ancestor couldn't have been more anxious. If my miniature universe is destroyed, I won't have any chance anymore. All my hope will be lost. As for my race, they'll be gone forever. Why is Milky Way Horde leader so useless? The first universe era, the second universe era, and the 2 holy lands received the news. The first universe era and the second universe era had lost all hope, as it was difficult for them even to help each other. So there was no way they could resist 900,000 sector beasts, all at once. As for the 2 holy lands, they were relatively large, and they were much more resistant, so it would take a long time. When it came to the miniature universes of true gods, they could be easily finished in a short time. Fortunately, I've chosen to side with the sector beasts. 9-headed demon master sat on the throne, feeling relieved. Although I am now only a slave of the sector beasts and have lost my freedom, my fate in the future could be worse. But at least it will be better than theirs. They'll soon die, but my race can live much longer. In the future, I can even try to transcend incarnations. If I can transcend incarnations, there might be a miracle so that I can escape from beneath the control of sector beasts. 9-headed demon master was looking forward to it. In the space outside the miniature universe of 9-headed demon master, a winged, silver-armored man appeared. It was Luo Feng, who was rushing back from Tilted Peak sector as quickly as possible. He had taken a detour and passed by the miniature universe of 9-headed demon master. Luo Feng looked at the miniature universe in the distance and smiled coldly. Sector beasts need to ask their slaves questions face to face. Only sector beasts could communicate via their hearts, their slaves couldn't do that. Morosa had to meet 9-headed demon master, Dragon Rock ancestral god, and Jinjiu Emperor directly anytime it needed to ask them questions. I won't give you any chance to leak any information. Luo Feng knew that 9-headed demon master would be staying in his miniature universe, waiting for the sector beasts. Die. Blood Ghost Blade showed up in his hand. Destruction, when performed by a level 5 sector beast, was strong enough to destroy a miniature universe, and Luo Feng's supreme blade techniques were already just as powerful as destruction. This video will end here.